Northern Man.
That works the best for me. Tell them to keep the bed for a while. Yeah. See you guys.
Take it easy.
Name, Sergeant Jacob Melke, M-E-L-K-I, badge 7155, Arizona Department of Public Safety.
What do we know?
At about 11:04, shortly after 11 p.m. This last night, we received a report of a blocking crash, blocking all lanes southbound I-17 here at Northern. We started coming to the scene and all traffic lanes were blocked, so it took us a minute to get here. We had basically two separate crashes. Vehicle was traveling southbound I-17, struck a pedestrian, and then subsequently, shortly after, when people were stopping and basically braking hard, there was a secondary rear collision on the left side of the highway. So we have one person that was transported with some injuries. I don't need further update on that, but we're going to be closed here for probably another 2 to 3 hours.
What was that person doing on the freeway?
Still undetermined at this point. Still working on that.
So the initial crash was someone outside of his vehicle when a second vehicle struck that person outside of the vehicle?
Yeah. Yes. A vehicle struck a pedestrian. Yes.
Who was next to his car or
Yes.
near his car?
Yep.
And we don't know what he was doing next to his car as far as...
Not at this time.
Okay. Once he was struck, did any other vehicle strike the victim once he was flung into the road?
Not that we know of. We don't believe so.
And you said that after that crash, a second crash occurred after
Yes,
that?
because there was multiple vehicles stopping abruptly, and there was one vehicle blocking the far right lane, so some cars were dodging out of the way and a rear-end collision occurred on the left side of the freeway.
Any injuries from those?
No.
No injuries.
And the condition of the person that was transported?
I don't know specifically, but they are being treated. I don't know if it's life-threatening at this point.
The person that struck the pedestrian, he's already been done the sobriety test, or was that even a factor as far as impairment? Was that even a factor?
Well, we spoke to, yes. Obviously, anytime someone's involved in a crash, it doesn't matter the severity of it. The troopers are always going to go and talk to the person and gather information, and if they get any indication that there's impairment, they'll continue with that investigation. So they have done that, their due diligence. We don't expect any impairment in this case.
And any other drivers?
None.
So culpability-wise, is there a definite area where there's culpability? Is it on the person that struck the pedestrian, or is it on the pedestrian?
It's too early for me to say. It still has to be investigated. It takes some time. But yes, obviously, when you're dealing with getting on the freeway, if you know, people can have culpability in it. But as far as me to assign to someone right now, we don't have that information.
So there's about 8 cars out there in total from what I counted. It's safe to say at this point they're all either involved in the initial collision or the secondary collision, or are a few of those just people that stopped out with the wreck?
The cars that are here now are the ones that were all involved in a crash of some sort, whether it be the first one or the secondary.
Did the vehicle that struck the pedestrian, he didn't strike anything other than the pedestrian? Did he strike any other cars after the pedestrian?
I don't know for certain. It didn't appear so, but I haven't actually been in the scene. I've been running the command here, so.
I asked that because just from what we've seen, the damage that he sustained looks pretty severe. So could that have come just from hitting the pedestrian? Is that still being investigated?
Yes, if you strike a pedestrian, you could have some serious damage to the front of your car, yes.
And the person's just in would you say, critical condition at this point?
I don't know the status. All I know is that they are being treated. I don't know if it's life-threatening or just serious at this point.
And he's a male. Do you have an age range on the victim?
I do not.
Okay. And the person that struck him, do we know where he was going? Was he going to work? Or
yes, we do know where he's going, but I don't want to get into his personal details.
Okay. Yeah. So the reason I ask is impairment is not an issue at this point.
We do not suspect that driver was impaired by alcohol or drugs.
Okay.
And how long do you think the crew was going to be closed?
We're at 1:30. Probably by 3:30 or 4, maybe even sooner than that.
So go over, if this happens to someone, you have some kind of vehicle, issue, what should you do? If you're on a freeway and it's kind of a busy scene, what is the right procedure?
Sure. So one of the most important things to understand and recognize, it's also part of our state law, is the move over law. So when you observe someone on the shoulder, whether it be the left emergency shoulder or right emergency shoulder, with their hazard lights on, you should move over one lane if you can. Okay, that's the requirement first from law. You need to move over one lane. If you're unable to because traffic is too busy, you should slow down. That's what the law requires you. The law doesn't say you have to slow down a certain amount. You should slow down to where it's safe and reasonable to pass someone. So in this area, it's 55. Obviously, people are going faster all the time, but you should be going 55 here. And if someone is in the emergency shoulder and you're coming up and you see them, you should move over one lane to give them one lane of space. If you can't slow down, 50, 45 is reasonable. Obviously, you don't want you shotgunning your brakes and slamming on your brakes because people behind you tend to not pay attention, and then that causes more issues, especially with secondaries. But it's important to recognize that you need to keep your eyes forward on the road and view what's going on. The reason we had a secondary here is because someone was coming southbound and wasn't paying attention soon enough to see that car blocking the roadway. And at the last second, they made a last-ditch effort and just went into the middle lane, which is what caused the secondary crash. The people were a little bit more focused and attentive. They slowed down, wait until there was a safe lane change, and then get into that lane change, because then you have these secondaries, which oftentimes are just as cause severe injuries or serious injuries as the initial crash.
Initially, the car that had an issue, should they do with their utmost to get off the freeway, even if it's a flat, just kind of rim it off the freeway if they can?
Yes.
We notice he's in the gore point, which is a very dangerous area, right?
Yes. I don't know specifically why he was in there. I don't know if he was broken down. We had an initial report that maybe that person was helping another broken down vehicle, so we don't know the totality of that at the moment. But my best advice would be, if you can, if your vehicle's not severely compromised, to try and get it off the freeway. Or if there's a wide open area. Unfortunately, on I-17 there aren't very many wide shoulders, but to get that off if you can.
And we noticed he doesn't have any kind of hazards on. Did you turn those off, or were they on initially?
There was a time difference from when the call came out to we got here, and obviously there was the whole highway was blocked and there was multiple people here. I don't recall if it was on. It could have been turned off. We will look into that. Obviously, we have body worn camera. We go back and look. I don't know. It's possible.
So out of all the other vehicles involved here, I'm not sure if we covered this yet, did anyone else require any form of medical attention, any kind of evaluation? Other than the person that was hit, no one else was transported, right?
Correct, yeah. That was the only injury that we had.